The front door clicked shut at 2:03 a.m., and Roman was already waiting in the marble hall. I froze with one hand still on the brass handle. His house was never truly dark. Low amber lights burned along the walls, catching the veins in the marble floor, the black shine of the grand piano, the sharp line of Roman's tailored suit. He stood at the foot of the staircase like he had been carved there. Still, controlled, deadly. Only his eyes moved. They dropped to my heels in my hand, then to the wrinkled hem of my black dress, then to the tiny white paper band still wrapped around my wrist from the restaurant coat check. "You said it was just dinner," he growled. My throat tightened. I had cleaned blood off one of his shirts 3 nights ago. I had seen men twice my size lower their heads when he entered a room. I had watched 6 security guards change formation when his mood shifted by half an inch. But somehow, standing there barefoot at 2 in the morning with lipstick fading off my mouth, I felt more exposed than I had the day I moved into his house to work off my mother's medical debt. It was supposed to be. I shut the door behind me before the sound could wake the rest of the house. I texted. "You texted that you'd be late." His voice stayed low. That made it worse. "Not that you'd disappear for 4 hours. Disappear." The word hit harder than it should have. I gripped my heels tighter. "I'm not one of your men." "No," he said. "You're the one person in this house who still thinks that means I worry less." That should have softened me. Instead, heat rose straight into my face. I had spent 8 months folding his shirts, polishing his mother's silver frames, learning which cabinet held the scotch his counsel preferred and which one held the tea he drank when he couldn't sleep. 8 months being invisible in a world built on obedience and fear. Tonight, I had done one selfish thing. One ordinary thing. Dinner with a man I met at the pharmacy while picking up pain medication for my mother. A normal man, I had thought. A normal night. So why did Roman look like he was trying not to break something? "I went to dinner," I said, forcing each word out clean. "Not to war." Something flashed in his expression. "Gone in a second. You don't know where you went." That made me laugh once. Sharp. Wrong. You don't get to talk in riddles because I came home late. For the first time, I moved instead of shrinking. I crossed the marble floor, set my heels on the console table, and started pulling the coat check band off my wrist. My fingers shook, but I didn't let him see enough to call it fear. "I'm 24, I said. "I told the kitchen I'd be out. I finished my work. I answered your text. If you're angry because your maid had dinner with someone in a real restaurant instead of scrubbing copper pans, that is your problem." The silence that followed was so complete I could hear the grandfather clock ticking in the next room. Roman stepped closer. Just one step. It swallowed half the distance between us. His cologne carried cedar, smoke, and something colder beneath it, like steel left outside at night. "Say his name." I lifted my chin. "Why?" "Because I asked." That old instinct. Obey, lower your eyes, survive the moment, rose up fast. I killed it. "Ethan," I said. "His name is Ethan." Roman's jaw locked. Not jealousy. Recognition. The shift was so small I would have missed it if I hadn't spent months learning the language of his silence. "Where did he take you?" I stared at him. "Now you care about the menu?" "Clara." My name came out like a warning this time. "Where?" I should have walked away. I should have gone upstairs, locked my door, and let him keep his secrets. The chandelier light cut across the marble floor in hard white lines, making the foyer feel colder than the night outside. My heels were still in my hand. My coat smelled like rain, city exhaust, and the expensive cologne Ethan had worn too close to my shoulder when he refused to let the evening end. I looked Roman Valeni in the face and made myself answer. "Downtown," I said. "First the restaurant on Mercer, then a jazz bar on Ninth. Then he wanted coffee." Roman did not move. Behind him, 2 of the 6 guards at the front hall held still in their black suits, pretending not to hear. They were bad at pretending. Everyone in this house knew the air changed when Roman Valeni went quiet. "Coffee," he repeated. I crossed my arms, more to hold myself together than to challenge him. "I told you it was dinner." I didn't know he would keep changing the plan. His stare sharpened. Not at the hour anymore. Not at the man. At the pattern. "Did he choose every place after he picked you up?" A strange chill slid down my back. "Yes." "Did he ask what time this house sleeps?" I blinked. "He asked when the kitchen staff clears out." I thought he was making conversation. Roman's mouth flattened into something dangerous. That was my answer. Not jealousy. Not wounded pride. Something worse. "What is Ethan to you?" I asked. "Nothing good." He turned to one of the guards. Lock the gates. No one in or out without my word. The order landed like a gunshot in the marble room. My grip tightened on my shoes. You're not locking me in because I had a late dinner. I'm locking this house down because you were used. The words hit harder than yelling would have. I took one step toward him, then stopped talking around me. For a second, all I could hear was the grandfather clock in the west corridor and the blood rushing in my ears. Roman studied me like he was deciding whether truth would protect me or ruin something he had spent years controlling. Then he chose. Ethan was never your date, he said. He was their way in. The foyer seemed to tilt. The rival family operatives couldn't get close to me through business, he continued. So they look for the one person in this house no one expects me to guard. I laughed once, sharp and humorless. Guard. You don't even let yourself look at me half the time. His jaw flexed. I look. The words should not have mattered in that moment. They did. I forced air into my lungs. You think he followed me home to study your security? I know he did. Roman stepped closer, his voice dropping. And if he touched your phone, your purse, or your coat, then tonight was not a date. It was reconnaissance. Suddenly, every harmless detail felt poisoned. Ethan holding my chair. Ethan taking my coat. Ethan smiling when I said I worked in a house on the north side without naming whose house it was. Ethan asking if I always got Thursdays off. Ethan offering coffee after midnight like he needed more time. My stomach turned. I left my purse by the table when I went to the restroom, I said. Roman's eyes went black. How long? Maybe 2 minutes. He faced the guards again. Sweep her room. Her car. Every entrance. Full electronic check. Panic flared hot in my chest. My car is outside the employee gate. It won't stay there. Now I understood the real cost of coming home at 2 a.m. It was not his anger. It was the collapse of ordinary life. My car. My phone. My room. My little scraps of privacy. Gone in a sentence because one dinner had crossed into his world. I'm not one of your shipments to secure, I snapped. His gaze cut back to me. No, you're the reason they changed tactics. That silenced me. The words landed harder than his anger had. Because anger, I could fight. I knew what to do with a raised voice. I knew how to square my shoulders, hold my chin up, pretend I was not scared. But that sentence, you're the reason they changed tactics, slid under my skin and stayed there. I looked past Roman Valeni and saw the proof of it. 6 men from the Valeni security team were spread through the marble foyer and the dark hallway beyond it, silent in black suits, earpieces catching the chandelier light. Not one of them looked relaxed. 2 watched the front entrance. 2 watched the corridor leading deeper into the house. 1 stood near the windows. 1 had my overnight bag at his feet like it had already been cleared for evidence. I swallowed. Changed from what? Roman Valeni did not answer right away. That was worse. He moved to the bar card instead, poured 2 fingers of whiskey into a crystal glass, then left it untouched. His tailored suit jacket was open now. His tie had been loosened, but nothing about him felt less dangerous. Start at the beginning, he said. My mouth went dry. I already told you. I went to dinner. With who? There it was. Sharp. Clean. No room to hide inside softer words. I folded my arms, more to hold myself together than to defy him. A man I met 3 weeks ago. His jaw tightened. Name. I don't know if it was his real one. That made his eyes lift to mine. Cold. Focused. Then give me the one he used. Daniel. The lie was not complete. That was what made it feel uglier. I had heard that name from the waiter when the reservation was checked. Whether it belonged to him or not, I could not tell. Roman Valeni took 1 slow step closer. Where? A restaurant downtown. What restaurant? I told him. What time did you leave? A little after 7. And you arrived home at 2 in the morning. His voice stayed even. So explain the 7 missing hours. My pulse stumbled. I could still see the restaurant in slices. Candlelight. White tablecloth. The low hum of expensive voices. A man in a navy jacket smiling too easily across from me, asking questions that felt flattering at first, then too precise. Where did I work? How long had I lived in the house? Did Roman Valeni usually eat at home? Did he trust his staff? At first I had dodged them. Then he had laughed like I was being shy, not careful. I forced myself back into the room. Dinner ran long. Roman Valeni waited. I hated that silence. It made every half-truth sound cheap before I even said it. Afterward, he said he had a driver and wanted to show me the skyline from the river. You went with him. It was not a question. Yes. His stare did not move. Why? Because I had wanted one normal night. Because I was tired of polishing other people's silver and folding other people's sheets and feeling invisible in a house built for power I would never touch. Because he had looked polished and safe and temporary. Instead, I said, I thought it was just a drive. The whiskey glass cracked in his hand. Not shattered. Just a hard little sound, crystal protesting under pressure. A line of amber slid over his knuckles. He set the glass down before it broke completely. Keep talking. My heart beat harder. We stopped near the river. Then he wanted another drink. I said no. He kept pushing. I told him I needed to get home. Roman Valeni's voice lowered. And he didn't like being told no. That part was true enough to sting on the way out. I looked down at my hands. He took my phone for a while. Said I was being dramatic. Said I could leave after one more stop. The room changed. Not loudly. Not with shouting. Just pressure. The kind before a storm breaks. One of the guards by the door straightened. Another touched his earpiece. Leather creaked somewhere behind me. A chair shifted. That was all. But in that room, small sounds carried weight. I kept my eyes on my hands because looking up felt dangerous. The skin across my knuckles had gone pale from how hard I was pressing them together. A second passed. Maybe two. Then one of the 6 guards moved fast, crossing the marble floor and handing Roman Valeni a phone. Not mine. A black phone. Thick case. One I had never seen before. Roman took it without looking away from me. Where? The guard's answer came clipped and low. Trash bin behind the alley entrance to the jazz bar. Fresh damage. Burner model. My head lifted before I could stop it. I didn't put anything in a trash bin. I know, Roman said. No softness. No jealousy now. Something colder. He stood, and the whole room changed shape around him. Tailored black suit. Cufflinks catching chandelier light. Control wrapped around fury, so tight it looked like calm. He tapped the phone screen once, then handed it to another guard. Send it upstairs. Full extraction. Tonight. One of the men by the fireplace already had his earpiece pressed in. On it. I swallowed. What is that? Roman looked at me the way men look at a door after hearing a lock click from the other side. Measuring damage. Measuring entry points. Not a date, he said. Not even close. My stomach turned. He began asking questions, but not the same ones as before. Not where the man touched my arm. Not whether he kissed me. Those had belonged to anger. This belonged to war. What bar? I told him. What stop after that? I told him about the second place. Quieter. Private booths. Dim red lamps. A valet stand. I had thought it looked expensive. I had also thought I was stupid for feeling underdressed. Roman asked what the man drank. What watch he wore. Whether he mentioned family, neighborhoods, shipping, unions, staff entrances, my work schedule, his house. That last word made my blood go cold. I looked up fully then. He asked what time the kitchen lights go out. No one in the room moved. I heard the grandfather clock in the hall. One click. Then another. Roman's jaw locked. He asked if the east hallway camera was still broken. I whispered. I thought he was making conversation because I said I worked long hours. I told him I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know what he meant. I know what you knew, Roman said. One of the guards came back in then, breath tight from moving fast. The burner has 3 deleted drafts. All addressed to the same number. Times match her route tonight. Her. Not Clara. Her. I hated how that sounded. Roman held out his hand. The phone was placed in it again. He read in silence, and the silence was worse than shouting. What does it say? I asked. He lifted his eyes to mine. First draft says the maid left the house alone. Every word landed like a stone in water. My mouth dried out. Second, he went on. Says she's nervous but still talking. I gripped the edge of the chair. Third says, no access to the office. Need another approach. The room tilted. It had not been dinner. It had been inventory. Not whether I was pretty. Whether I was useful. Not whether I would flirt. Whether I would break. A laugh almost came out of me, and I hated that too. I had spent the ride home ashamed, trying to explain lateness, trying to defend myself from the heat in Roman's voice, while somewhere in the dark, men had been weighing the doors around my life. I didn't tell him anything important, I said, and my voice sounded small even to me. Roman stepped closer. You told him enough for them to try. The guard near the door spoke into his earpiece again, then turned. We found the man's car abandoned 3 blocks away. Plates fake. But traffic cams caught 2 more vehicles nearby. Black sedan. Gray SUV. The words black sedan and gray SUV seemed to pull all the air out of the room. For one beat, nobody moved. Then I did. Stop looking at me like I wandered into a trap with my eyes closed, I said. My throat burned. My hands were shaking, but I kept them at my sides. If I folded now, he would never hear me. Not really. Roman's stare locked on mine. Hard. Dark. Waiting. One of the guards shifted near the door, but Roman lifted 2 fingers without looking away from me. The room went still again. I took a breath that felt too thin. I knew something was wrong. The silence after that was worse than shouting. Roman's face did not change at first. That frightened me more than anger would have. Marble fireplace. Low lamplight. The smell of smoke from his jacket. Everything sharpened at once, like the whole house had leaned in to listen. What did you say? He asked. I swallowed. At the restaurant. I knew. His jaw tightened. I saw the exact second he understood what I meant, and the exact second he hated it. You knew the dinner was wrong, he said slowly. Yes. And you went anyway. Yes. His voice dropped so low it scraped. Why? Because I had heard enough in this house to know when danger had a polite smile. Because the man at that table had known what wine Roman drank without looking at the menu. Because he had asked questions no stranger should have asked. Not about me. About staff routines. Deliveries. Which nights the East Gate stayed open later. Whether Roman still worked past midnight in the study with the windows facing the garden. I had known by the second course. I realized he wasn't interested in me. I said. Not really. I realized he wanted pieces of your life. Roman took one step closer. Not threatening. Worse. Controlled. And you stayed. I stayed because if I got up too fast, he would know I understood. His eyes flicked over my face like he was searching for the point where this story became madness. So you decided to sit there and let him use you? No, I lifted my chin. I decided to let him think he was. That landed. A different silence fell over the room then. Heavy. Smarter. Even the guard by the door looked at me differently. Roman's mouth parted, but nothing came out. I pressed on before he could cut me off. I kept him talking. I gave him harmless things. The cook complaining about produce prices. The upstairs faucet that rattles. The florist delivery on Thursdays. Things that sounded domestic. Small. Boring. My pulse beat hard in my neck. Every minute he focused on me. He wasn't getting anything real from anywhere else. Roman's eyes narrowed. You call that safe? I didn't say it was safe. The words came out sharper than I meant them to. But I did not take them back. I looked at the floor for 1 second, then back at him. I knew I was buying time. I just didn't know how long I could keep doing it before he got tired of pretending. The truth sat there between us. Ugly. Plain. I had not come home late because I was careless. I had come home late because I had made a choice. Roman dragged a hand over his mouth. That was the first sign he was shaken. Not the anger. Not the stare. That small break in control. You should have called me, he said. I couldn't. My voice softened, but only a little. If I reached for my phone, he would have seen it. If I ran, he would have followed. If I panicked, he would have known there was something worth chasing. His expression changed then. Not into mercy. Roman Valeni did not know how to turn soft that quickly, but guilt moved through him like a shadow. He had been furious at me for crossing a line. Now he had to stand there and face the fact that I had crossed it for him. Guilt did not make him kinder. It made him decisive. By sunrise, every gate on the estate was locked. I heard the steel slide into place from the second-floor hallway, one heavy clank after another, like the house itself had grown teeth. Men moved below in dark suits, quiet and armed. All 6 from the Valeni security team were inside the perimeter now. 2 at the front entrance. 2 near the back terrace. 2 rotating the halls outside Roman Valeni's private wing and, apparently, mine. Mine. That was the first thing that made heat climb up my throat. The second was the tray left outside my bedroom door. Coffee. Eggs. Toast. A glass of orange juice sweating onto a silver plate. It looked polite. It felt like a message. Do not leave. I opened the door anyway. One guard stepped forward at once, palm low, respectful but final. Roman Valeni's orders, he said. I work here. You stay here today. I laughed once. Sharp. Meaner than I intended. That's a prison with better wallpaper. He did not answer. He did not have to. I found Roman Valeni in the breakfast room, standing at the long marble counter with a black coffee in one hand and blood on his cuff that had dried to a dark rust line. Sunlight cut across his tailored suit. It should have made him look human. It did not. It only made the danger easier to see. You posted guards outside my door. Without turning, he said, outside your hall. Don't play with words. That made him look at me. Slow. Heavy. Then don't force me to use the blunt ones. You are not leaving this house. Rage came so fast it shocked me. Maybe because fear was under it. Maybe because some part of me had already known this was coming the second I saw guilt in his face last night. You don't get to decide where I go. I do if walking out gets you killed. I am not one of your shipments. I am not a car you park behind locked gates. I am a person. His jaw tightened. And persons bleed. The room went silent after that. Even the kitchen staff vanished like smoke. I hated that he could still a room without raising his voice. I hated more that my pulse reacted to it. I had dinner, I said. That's all. With a man tied to the rival family operatives. I did not know that. I know. He set the cup down. They know you matter now. That is enough. Matter. The word landed wrong. Too warm. Too dangerous. I folded my arms, just to keep from shaking. You mean they think I matter to you? His eyes held mine. Dark. Unblinking. That is the same problem. Something low and electric moved through the air between us. Not softness. Not peace. Something worse. Something that asked what would happen if neither of us stepped back. So I stepped forward instead. You brought me into your storm, I said. You don't get to chain me down and call it protection. For the first time that morning, anger broke through his control. I am trying to keep you alive. And I am trying to keep myself. That hit him. I saw it. Not in his mouth. Roman Valeni's mouth always stayed hard. But in the stillness afterward. In the way his fingers flattened against the marble, like he needed the stone to hold the rest of him in place. Then he did something I did not expect. He took a key from his pocket and set it between us. Not for the front gate. Not freedom that far. A smaller key. Brass. Old. The West Library, he said. The garden room. The upstairs terrace. You can move through those rooms without asking anyone. The guards stay with you. Non-negotiable. I stared at the key. That is not trust. No, his voice dropped. It is the most I can give while there are still people outside this house who may use you to reach me. I should have left it there. The brass key felt heavier than it should have in my palm. Old metal. Warm from Roman Valeni's hand. I turned it once between my fingers and caught a smear of dark red near the cut grooves. Blood. Not fresh. Dried into the ridges. My stomach tightened. You're bleeding. Roman Valenti looked down as if the split across his knuckles belonged to someone else. It's nothing. That was how men like him lied. Quietly. Like damage was furniture. I crossed to the sideboard, grabbed the white linen cloth folded beneath a silver tray, and took his hand before he could pull it away. His skin was hot. His wrist flexed once under my fingers, hard with restraint, then went still. You gave me a key, I said, wrapping the cloth around his knuckles. That does not mean I stopped noticing things. The lamp beside us threw gold over the marble floor. Outside the library doors, I heard one of the 6 guards shift his weight. Leather creaked. A radio crackled low. The house sounded awake in all the wrong ways. Roman Valeni watched me tie the cloth. You should not touch evidence. I looked up. Evidence of what? Instead of answering, he reached into the inside pocket of his tailored jacket and set a small black object on the desk between us. A phone, burned around one edge. The screen shattered, but not dead. Found in the east service corridor, he said. Behind the panel, near the dumbwaiter. A cold pulse moved through me. The service corridor ran behind the kitchen hall. Staff used it. I used it. Who did it belong to? One of the rival family operatives dropped it when my men cornered him at the docks. His voice went flatter. More dangerous. He died before he could say much. But the phone survived. I stared at the cracked screen. And it contains messages. He tapped it once. Not just from the man who took you to dinner. The room seemed to narrow around me. Roman Valeni slid the phone closer. A thread of text was already opened. No names. Only numbers. Short messages. Times. Instructions. One line made my throat close. Make sure the maid leaves by 7:30. Use the gallery entrance. He won't suspect if it looks personal. The timestamp was from the afternoon before that dinner. Another message followed. If she returns late, he'll be off balance. Keep the house routine unchanged. I heard my own breathing before I realized I had stepped back. No, the word came out raw. No one inside your house would know my schedule that closely unless they lived inside this house with me, Roman Valeni said. I looked at him then. Really looked. Not the anger. Not the power. The betrayal underneath it. It hollowed his face in a way bruises never could. Who? I asked. His jaw locked. One of the three on my inner circle council had access to the service logs, staff rotations, and gate reports. The linen around his hand darkened where blood kept rising through. I had patched a wound while something worse was opening under our feet. I forced myself back to the desk, then stopped treating this like an attack from outside. If one of them helped arrange that night, every room in this house is dirty now. His eyes lifted to mine, sharp, assessing, and for 1 second I saw the shift happen. Not in his fear, in mine. I was no longer only the woman who had been pulled into his world by mistake. I was bait that had already worked once. You knew that before you showed me the phone, I said. Roman Valeni did not deny it. Rage hit me so fast it burned. You handed me a key and then brought me in here because you think they'll move again if I stay visible. I brought you here because I will not lie to you again. Those are not the same thing. No, his voice dropped. They aren't. Silence stretched between us, thin as wire. Then I did the one thing he had not expected. Silence stretched between us, thin as wire. Then I crossed the room, took the burner phone from his hand, and slipped it into the pocket of my black dress. If they want to see me move, I said, then let them. The air changed. Not softer, sharper. Roman Valeni's jaw locked so hard I saw the muscle jump near his ear. Behind him, the floor-to-ceiling windows turned the city into a sheet of black glass and white sparks. Somewhere below, traffic hissed over wet pavement. Inside the room, I could hear only my own breathing. No, it came out low. Final. I lifted my chin anyway. You said you would not lie to me again. Then stop deciding for me. His eyes cut over my face like he was searching for fear. He found it. I knew he did. My hands were cold. My pulse would not slow down. But I did not step back. The plan on that phone is built around me being frightened, I said. Around me hiding. If I disappear now, they change the board. And if you stay visible, they take their shot. Then let them take it where you choose. For 1 second, nothing moved. Then one of the three men from the inner circle council spoke from the doorway. The decoy route is ready. Roman did not look away from me. Out. The man left at once. I understood it then. Roman had already started building a trap before he showed me the truth. He was going to use the dinner setup, the leak, all of it, and fold it back on the people who thought they were hunting me. He had only planned to keep me sealed away while he did it. I shook my head. Not this time. His voice dropped even further. You do not know what they will do. I know enough. They used me to get close to you. They counted on me staying small. I swallowed. I'm done being useful only when I'm quiet. That landed. A flicker. Brief, but real. Roman moved first then, not toward the door, but toward the table. He spread a map across the marble surface. Warehouse district. River access. 2 black SUVs marked in red. 6 positions around the perimeter for the Valeni security team. For likely entry points for the rival family operatives. He told me fast, clean, with no softening and no mercy in it. They will think you are being moved, he said. 1 vehicle visible. 1 route leaked. My people close every exit once they commit. And me? His stare burned. With me. The night smelled like rain and gasoline by the time we reached the loading yard. Rusted steel containers rose around us like dark apartment blocks. Sodium floodlights buzzed overhead, throwing hard yellow light over puddles and broken asphalt. I sat in the back seat of the lead SUV, burner phone in my coat pocket, every nerve awake. This was not dinner. Not a mistake. Not a game I had wandered into by accident anymore. This was a choice. Roman opened my door before the vehicle had fully settled. One hand braced on the frame, the other reaching for me. I ignored the hand and stepped out on my own. His mouth hardened. Good. The first crack of gunfire shattered the yard before anyone spoke. Not warning shots. Real. Close. The world snapped apart into noise and motion. Men shouted. Glass burst somewhere behind me. The Valeni security team split exactly the way Roman had drawn it. 6 dark shapes cutting for cover and angles. Muzzle flashes punched holes through the dark from the far loading bay. They came early, I shouted. No, Roman said, dragging me behind a concrete barrier. They came desperate. A body hit the pavement near the chain-link fence. One of the rival family operatives. Another tried to circle wide toward the dock office. And then I saw what Roman missed. Not a gunman. A trigger. A small red light blinking under the metal stairs beside the office door. My blood went cold. Bomb. I said, already moving. I ran before he could stop me. The red light blinked under the metal stairs, small and steady, cruel in its calm. Rainwater dripped from the dock roof. Gunfire cracked somewhere behind us. The loading bay smelled like oil, salt, and hot metal. Clara, no. Roman's voice hit me like a hand around my wrist, but this time I did not freeze for him. I dropped to my knees on the slick concrete and reached under the stairs. Black tape. A wired charge. Cheap. Fast. Built to kill people running for cover. Not Roman. Everyone. I can pull it, I said. You don't know that. Neither do they. That's why they planted it there. One of the Valeni security team dragged a wounded guard behind a forklift. Another fired toward the chain-link fence. Across the yard, one of the rival family operatives tried to rise and failed. The other three were still somewhere in the dark. Roman crouched beside me, broad shoulders blocking the wind, tailored suit soaked black with rain. There was blood at his cuff. I did not know whose. Talk to me, he said. I swallowed and forced my shaking hands to stay useful. If it had gone off when your men pushed toward the office, it would have taken the whole entrance. They want a chaos. Then they finish whoever survives. He looked once at the blinking light, then at me. Can you stop it? I looked at the wires again. Red. Yellow. A cracked plastic timer housing. Mud on the casing. Assembly line work, not military. Something made in a hurry by men who expected panic to do half the job. Yes, I lied. Roman heard the lie. His eyes changed. That was the wound between us. Not dinner. Not 2 a.m. Not jealousy sharp enough to draw blood. Fear. Fear dressed up as anger. Fear wearing power like armor. Fear that if one of us told the truth too late, the other would be gone. He caught my jaw gently, forcing me to look at him while bullets chewed sparks from the dock railing. My fury was never about the hour, he said, low and raw. It was because I knew something was wrong, and I could not reach you. I thought I was losing you to a lie I did not understand. My breath broke. Rain slid down his face. He did not wipe it away. I was afraid, he said. And I loved you like a man who only knows how to protect by controlling the door, the clock, the room, the air. That was my failure, not yours. The world narrowed to his hand on my face and the red pulse under the stairs. So I gave him the truth he had earned. I stayed because his face matched the name from your files, I said. He kept talking, and I kept listening, because I knew he was tied to the setup. I crossed lines because if I walked away too soon, you would have walked blind into this. My throat burned. I did not come home late because I forgot what you meant to me. I came home late because your life mattered more than my safety. For 1 second, Roman closed his eyes. Then he opened them and nodded once. No command. No argument. Just trust. Tell me what to do. I pointed. When I pull the housing loose, the pressure may shift. If it starts to spark, throw it into the water. Not away from me. Into the water. His mouth tightened. I'm not leaving you here. I know. That answer changed him more than any plea could have. I slid my fingers under the taped edge and peeled slowly. The timer ticked louder in my head than the gunshots. My nails bent. The casing lifted. One wire came free. Then another. The red light flashed fast. Now, I whispered. Roman ripped the device from my hands and hurled it off the dock. A white blast tore up from the black water half a second later. The shock wave slapped the pilings. Metal screamed. Salt spray hit my face.